Listen to the 48 Hours podcast for shocking murder cases and compelling real-life dramas from one of television's most watched true crime shows. Go behind the scenes of each episode with award-winning CBS News correspondents and producers in Postmortem, a weekly deep dive. Listen to 48 Hours wherever you get your podcasts.
Inspired by the life of the savvy and ambitious Colombian businesswoman Griselda Blanco comes a new Netflix original limited series. Griselda tells the story of a devoted mother who, with her lethal blend of charm and relentless savagery, creates one of the most powerful cartels in history. Witness Sofia Vergara's captivating transformation into the godmother of the underworld. Griselda, now streaming only on Netflix.
Bare naked, bare naked, bare naked, ABCs.
Welcome to the Bare Naked ABCs, where we discuss every Bare Naked Ladies song alphabetically from 7 to Y. If you, I haven't been feeling well tonight, so I did not write an opening for tonight's episode. I'm sorry, guys. I just woke up this morning and I felt sick. You just won't believe. But I couldn't cancel because tonight we have something to celebrate. That's right. Aaron is here at the same time as Andrew and Justin. Welcome, everyone.
That's incredible.
Yay, we did
incredible.
it just in time to be communicable.
We did it, Reddit. They said it was impossible.
Yeah.
It's popular here now because our prime minister, who's very hip and trendy, has got it now.
Yes.
Oh, no.
We've all got to do it.
Yes, just don't open up your hate and let it flow into me.
Voluntary quarantine, yeah. That's what this podcast is all about. So, there are a lot of people out there right now probably really bored, just stuck at home waiting for something to do, and we're here to entertain you by talking about
Perfect
some of the
time.
most obscure of Bare Naked Ladies hits.
It is probably the most obscure Bare Naked Ladies hit.
Okay.
I didn't hear about this until I was starting to put this list together. I think it's kind of ironic that in the midst of all these 6 symptoms, this is the song that we're covering.
Yeah.
I think Tracy, that this is a deep cut.
Ooh. That was
I'm going to have to put some effects on that. I'll put some effects.
Yeah. Make sure it goes nice and high.
deep cut.
So for people who have no idea what we're talking about, they didn't bother to look at the title for this week's song. We are talking about the extremely deep cut Having a Baby, or parentheses, Stephen Page is having, or unparentheses, is having a baby.
I've got a bad headache and I've got the shakes. Nothing seems to soothe this tummy ache. Could it be so? No, it can't be so. Stephen Page is having a baby. Stephen Page is having a baby. This voice can never give birth.
So the interesting thing is I couldn't find much information about this song because it is such a deep cut. It is hard to find anything. I did find reference that is possibly a Page Duffy song, not just a Page song.
Okay.
Which I could see that. I could see this definitely be one of the collaborations.
Who is Duffy? Can you explain that to the ignorant amongst us?
Stephen Duffy, the one of the original founders of Duran Duran, and then a multiple song writer with Stephen Page for multiple songs of Bare Naked Ladies, such as The Old Apartment, Jane, and now, of course, I'm losing out on the other names off the top of my head. Alcohol.
Okay, I see some lines between this and Alcohol, but I mean, this doesn't really scream Old Apartment to me.
I was going to say, you start out with, you have your first kid, you're in your crappy apartment, it leads you to drink because kids are like that. That makes perfect sense.
There's a theme.
Yeah.
It's a timeline.
And they had it with Jane.
Yes.
They had the baby with Jane?
Yeah.
Or the baby was Jane. No, it wouldn't have been. It would have been Gordon.
That explains the webbed toes.
Yeah. But that's the trouble with Tracy.
Wow.
Yes, I went there.
That's an obscure B-side as well, I think, isn't it?
That is.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in about 5 years. Yeah.
5 years.
Speaking of B-sides, this is a double B-side.
Oh.
So it is a B-side for the Enid UK single. So in other words, if you were in Canada or you were in the United States, you weren't going to hear this song. You had to be in the UK to get this song. And then it's also a B-side for Christmas Time, Oh Yeah, which was the, if I'm correct, Ladies Room Volume number 3. And then finally, this was a deep dive that I didn't even know existed until I started looking this up for this week. In 2005, for the Ladies Room members only, they released a CD of their concert at the Danforth Music Hall in Toronto on November 29th, 1991. And this song is on there as well.
Is that where, like, this is a live, every version of this I've heard is a live recording. So is that the concert where they played this? Did they only play it once?
No, actually. The interesting thing is, like, I listened to that this week and I compared it. The Danforth Music Hall version is actually much less polished. So I could not actually find where this was originally recorded for the one that came out on the Enid UK single and for the Christmas Time Oh Yeah version. So it's really, really odd.
Yeah, there is something odd about this song, isn't there?
To say the least.
I think it's cool that this is the B-side for the first single they ever released, though. And it never made it anywhere else.
It wasn't on any of their garage tapes or anything, was it?
No.
Okay.
This is it. It wasn't on any of their early demos.
Wow.
So should we tell our origin story with this song? Because I think, maybe correct me if I'm wrong about this, Justin, but I mean, we sang this a lot in high school.
A lot.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
This was one of the songs that I found when I was just discovering Bare Naked Ladies. And I'm not sure, did you introduce me to this? Or my impression is I discovered it by accident on LimeWire at some point when I just searched Bare Naked Ladies. I don't know. How did you find this?
I'm fairly certain you introduced me to it. This is starting to sound like one of those situations where you're talking to your parents and you're like, no, it was his fault. But
it was definitely
and with this song, that would happen.
Yeah, no, I'm going to say that I think you discovered it. And I remember specifically, this I do remember being, and the LimeWire connection makes a lot of big deal because we were in around your computer when it happened.
Yeah.
And we were just kind of like, what is this?
So it probably took me all night to download, and then I woke up before going to school and played this, and I was like, oh no, I've made a horrible mistake.
Now I got this stuck in my head, and I'm going to go sing it at school.
Oh no, this is one of those secret password, secret handshake kind of songs you have. It's got you're walking up to each other. It's like, right on! And it's got ah!
But I'm under the impression, I think we may have sung this every day for the rest of the year. I feel like we were rarely not singing about having a baby.
Yeah. And it was usually a call and answer kind of a thing, not the song, but kind of someone would come up the hall and say, Stephen Page is having a baby, and then yes!
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah, it was a thing. It was a time and a place.
It's glorious. This may be the best song they ever made. Yeah.
Stephen Page is having a baby. Who said that boys can never give birth?
Is it? Not Danny DeVito.
Obviously,
No.
yeah.
No. Or Arnold.
Yes.
Well, we'll go there, yeah.
Okay, I mean, there's going to be a lot of Junior references. We might as well get that out front.
Yeah.
When was the last time any of you
Oh,
watched
yeah.
Junior?
I watched it when it first came out on video cassette, I'm pretty sure. And then that's the only time I've watched it.
Yep, same. That was
I was
enough.
gonna say, it's about that time.
I'm pretty sure we have it as part of an Arnold box set with Kindergarten Cop and Twins.
You own Junior?
Both of those
Wow.
are
Almost
vastly
sure-
superior films.
I'm pretty sure we do, only because we wanted Kindergarten Cop that badly. Because with all due respect to Twins, it is the superior of the three.
Ooh, that's a
Oh,
tough
yeah.
one. I don't know who I
No,
would choose.
I agree.
Kindergarten Cop all the
Junior's bottom shelf. Twins is middle shelf. Kindergarten Cop is That's the Grey Goose right there.
That's the single malt right there.
That's the spicy meatball.
I mean, maybe, but Kindergarten Cop doesn't have Danny DeVito yelling into the camera, "I'm the crap!"
It's true, but Twins doesn't have Arnold saying, "Who is your daddy and what does he do?"
I mean, because he is the daddy. He doesn't need to
It's
know.
not a tuba.
Which takes on a whole new meaning in this age of Tinder and all that.
Me too.
Wow.
Oh boy.
I wish to officially
I might
disavow
edit that one out.
myself
That
from
was-
anything that Tracy says.
Not all Arnolds.
For this whole podcast for the rest. For the rest
There
of
goes
time.
my political ambitions.
I mean, why don't we take it there for a sec, though, and say that this song is very progressive in its gender roles and interpretation? You know?
Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I guess I'll wait till we talk about the lyrics. I was gonna actually talk about this unironically. Yeah.
All right, let's dive into it unironically. Okay.
There's some interesting material to mine there.
All right. We'll go with the lyrics first.
Okay.
Give her.
Let's go unironic, and then we'll have fun with it. Oh, yes. Alanis Morissette version.
And then we'll go very ironic. Like, oh, that song was great.
So what were your thoughts, Aaron?
When you told me the name of the song, now I, unlike our guests here, was not previously aware of this song. I'm coming into this of anybody with probably the least general knowledge of the BNL catalog, and certainly a lot of the deep cuts were lost on me. So, having known some of the Ed material to sometimes be quite sentimental in nature, I was expecting a soft acoustic guitar and Ed talking about how his whole life changed when he looked into those little eyes and knew that he was suddenly responsible for for whatever, right? Not what we got at all.
Not so much. But that song exists and is When You Dream,
Oh yeah.
right? Like that is Steve's
yeah.
Ed song about baby.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So, I won't survive to reach that song. I'll be dead by then.
Go listen to it
We're
anyway.
in the middle of the pandemic.
It's adorable.
By next week.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I was expecting. And then when I hear Stephen Page, and I'm like, oh, that's a young Stephen Page. Tracy, I thought this was around the time of I Think You Should Drive, so I was a little later than it actually was, but that's pretty good, I think.
That's pretty good.
Because he has that earlier Brian Wilson kind of quality in his voice, and that
Yes.
Stephen Page. I was like, it's got to be around either like Gordon or Think You Should Drive or Stump. That's definitely the first 3 albums.
Now, where would you get the idea that it's from Gordon?
Well,
Still joking
okay,
about Gordon.
that is my favorite lyric actually.
And if it's a boy, I'll call him Gordon. And if it's a girl, I'll call her Gordon. I just like the name Gordon.
I love the pause that he puts in there.
And also, like, there's something about Jim's bass.
Yeah.
Where if it's a certain kind of bass, you're like, that's
Yes.
clearly from the
The-
Gordon era.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the upright kind of stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's great. I like this song a lot. The lyrics, definitely threw me for a loop. This song is rare enough that it was actually even difficult to find lyrics for online. Not difficult, but like usually you'll Google a BNL song and it'll be like 30,000, 50,000 hits, 200,000 hits, whatever. This was like like 300 something like that. It was pretty obscure. I was like, wow.
Like 150 of those were the guys themselves.
Yeah, right. Posting on a blog or something. No help for me on the musical side. I had to do all that by ear, so that was a lot of fun because there's no chords, there's no tab, there's nothing. I was like, okay, well, let's just bang this out and see what we got. So that was interesting. But no, yeah, the lyrics I thought were funny and charming, very, very kind of typical of the early BNL kind of playful, ridiculous, silly. That's what I'm looking for. Surrealist or kind of absurdist humor, and very fun.
Kitschy.
Oh yeah.
It's great because they do what they're really good with some of their early songs, which is like they come in with this very straight direction at the beginning of the song, and then like we're gonna give it this huge O. Henry type twist all of a sudden, and head in a direction you did not see coming unless you've heard this song before.
Sharp left turn.
And the sharp left turn is delivered by like a Greek chorus who is doing the chorus in the form of the rest of the band.
Yeah. Well, I will talk about that during the breakdown. Yes. Interestingly enough, I love stuff that's programmatic. So like having it go, the musical style changes, not kind of the style, but the key changes and the feel changes. It goes from major to minor. So it's really, the whole thing is just designed to kind of slap you in the face. It's kind of great.
This song really is a smack up the side of the head, isn't it?
But a nice one.
Yeah. Slap you with a piece of fish.
Yeah.
Gentle slap.
A gentle slap.
A love tap.
Now, I think that the only way that this song could have actually happened was by a rum dunkin'. Aaron, would you like to share with people what a rump dunkin' is?
Rump dunkin'? Isn't that an Appalachian term for vigorous sexual intercourse?
Yes. So I figure that's the only way that this that this could have happened.
Do you mean mechanically how a man could become impregnated?
A rump dunkin'?
Yes.
Okay.
A rump dunkin' is the only way this could happen.
That Duncan must have been rumping pretty good then, if that's the case, because it went backwards.
Is that what Junior was about?
Well, isn't it the male seahorse like carries the baby to term? Like the egg is still in the female and they have intercourse and then it gets impregnated, but then she like passes the egg to him and then the male seahorse carries it. I'm pretty sure that's true.
And we don't have any proof that Steven is not a seahorse.
It's true. I mean, look, I've never seen him and a seahorse in the same room at the same time.
Suspicious.
They're not actually talking about Stephen Page. They're talking about a seahorse named
Stephen Page.
Now, see? Horse? That's exactly what's going on here.
Yeah.
We cracked the code on this one.
Because I've heard seahorses
Case
are named
closed.
very weirdly, just like horses for horse racing. They have very weird names.
Do you mean like Rumple Teaser or? And
it's Stephen Page coming up on the left. Like Rump Dunkin'.
That's right. So I'm totally lost.
Okay, well, we were about to talk about the lyrics.
Right.
Yeah, why don't we have one of our guests chime in, please?
Exactly. What were your thoughts on this song, like around the lyrics? Like when it first hit you back in high school, like what were your first imaginings of this song?
My first imaginings were the fact that I figured the boys were just like tuning their instruments and this came out kind of a thing. Because that's my favorite thing about any good band is, I mean, for heaven's sake, if you look it up, there are tales about the fact that David Bowie and Freddie Mercury basically made Under Pressure by accident, basically. So I often envision a similar way that the guys were just kind of plinking away at their instruments. And as far as I'm concerned, it was probably based solely around Jim's bass. Like Jim was just plunking away and then everybody started playing around. And then Steve just started making crap up. And I'd love to think that that's true. I know it's probably not. But that's where my thinking comes from all this, and especially just because of the key change to make it into what it is. I mean, it just makes it fun. But to think why they thought of Stephen Page having a baby, the only thing I could figure is that somebody must have said something. Like maybe they went out for wings and he just came home and he was like, oh, and he was just too full. And then it's kind of like, hey,
a food baby.
Yeah, Stephen Page is going to have a baby. So, as lame as that is,
I mean, it's a very lyrical
that could be.
Phrase, right? Like it's a hoppy. Stephen Page is having a baby. Like it really naturally falls into you singing that ridiculous sentence
over and over again. Yeah,
it's catchy.
It's such a bizarre song.
I work in an elementary school, and it was so hard not to sing this week as I'm listening to it.
And, you know, it's like what I love about it is it's just, I don't know of many other a lot of Bare Naked Ladies songs tell a story, and a lot of them are telling the story of the singer. But this one is so strange in that, one, the whole band is like a barbershop quartet behind Steve telling this story. And two, that the lyrics are typically very lyrical. There's a lot of really interesting imagery and wordplay. There's some really fascinating ideas about parenthood here, about that he doesn't care whether or not this is a boy or a girl, and if he's a man that had a baby, what does that make him, a mother or a father, and etc. And personhood. Just call me Steve.
Gender roles.
Exactly. Like there's a lot of...
And of course, biology.
Yeah, there's a lot of otherwise very deep ideas handled very ridiculously, but expertly. And it's all upbeat. Like, he never once regrets that he's having a baby. He has no idea why he's having a baby, but he is rolling with it, man. He is there. And there's something very winning about how ridiculous but thoughtful and... overall, a very upbeat this whole ridiculous song is.
I was thinking about just a little bit further. You could almost compare this to one of those old nursery rhymes, almost.
Yeah.
Ring around the rosy and London Bridge is falling down. Though very...
Stephen Page is having a baby.
Jaunty little tunes that you can dance to at the same time. They have a deeper meaning. And in this case, it's the idea that, hey, Stephen Page is having a baby. That's us.
That's the deeper meaning.
And the deeper meaning is all the rest of that stuff he's talking about. The chords is just a jaunty little tune.
I love, like, it sounds weird, but one of my favorite things about this song, other than that Gordon verse, is, I'm going to say it's Tyler. It could be Steven, but I really think it's Tyler in the background, just throwing out these extra little words.
Stephen Page is having a baby. Yes! Stephen Page is having a baby. Right on! They say boys.
Oh, and only Tyler could do that.
Yeah, he's like the hype man. He's doing the Flava Flav thing. He's the hype man.
He is so psyched for this situation. He's going to be like the best uncle in the world.
Yeah, he's going to be like the Godfather. He's supporting his bro. My bro's having a baby, you know. His bro's having babies. Hashtag join the conversation.
I thought boys could never give birth.
You thought wrong, dude.
Well, that would get you... That might get you in trouble, man, these days. Yeah, that's the thing. So, okay, we may as well dive into that. So, very, very sincerely.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, obviously this whole thing reminded me of the movie Junior with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but that film was released in 1994. So, do we think that the makers of that film were BNL fans and had perhaps heard this tune and were influenced by it? Because I love that idea.
I want to know if that's true. Ivan Reitman,
yes,
come on the show and tell us that is true, please.
New guest. Okay, we know you listen. Come on, Ivan.
Ivan, write in and tell us if this is... I just love the idea there's all these Hollywood like fat cats, and they're like, hey, do you hear this song? Stephen Page is having a bit. But what if?
Yes.
That's how movies
Indeed.
happen.
Not to get entrenched into a political or sociological discussion, but this obviously predates the sweeping change in the zeitgeist when it comes to transgender people. The lyrics they said boys could never give birth. That has a very different ring to it 3 decades later. But, I think that, again, this is presenting it from the perspective of someone we perceive to be a man having a baby. And I don't find BNL to have any kind of hatred in their hearts. So I'm pretty sure this would be, if anything, kind of a positive kind of expression of that kind of idea.
Well, it is very positive.
I think even without that too, even without that too, he is in favor of this. The song, if we were going to take it to a serious
he's
end,
enthusiastic about it.
Like, he is the person having the baby.
Yeah.
He's not, they told me I could never give birth, but I'm going to do it anyway, is the message of the song.
Well, that's kind of an inspiring message in a weird way, too. I mean, obviously, this is just a silly little tune, but like, I think that it's kind of fun that we can talk about this from this perspective. And,
I think you're underestimating that this is the best song that they did. Like, this is the ultimate song, and it's an important piece of work.
Well, there are so many amazing pieces. Like, it's like they took every like interesting thing they wanted to be able to do as BNL, and they threw it in here. Like, so we have the twist. We have the Tyler Steven throwing out these random lines.
Yeah.
We have 2 bridges. We have them doing mouth jazz.
Yeah, though they were told they were never allowed to do that, apparently.
Oh, really?
According to the lyrics, they said Steve could never play jazz. I want to know who these people are who are trying to keep the man down.
That's true.
All right, Steve,
Exactly.
2 things. 1, you're not allowed to have a baby. 2, you can't play jazz. Here, wear this hair shirt.
How dare they? Maybe that's where the song came from. They're like, oh, wait, that's the serious end of this song.
This is the household that guy left in
Yeah.
the in the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. This was it. Yeah, the great provider. He had to get out of there. Listen here.
And great provider?
You can't tell me I can't have a baby.
Dad,
Yes,
I'm going to
yes,
go have
son,
a
I
baby.
can.
He's like, you can't tell me.
Oh.
So when Ed is asking who's the Holy Ghost, it's very similar to Steve asking who's the daddy on this baby.
When did The Life of Brian come out? That must have been before this. That must have been...
Through 80s.
I was thinking of that scene in The Life of Brian where the guy's like, where's the fetus
Exactly.
going to gestate? You got to put it in a box?
It was much earlier.
So, interesting how times have changed. But I think, this is, if anything, it's just relevant in a new way.
Even the progressive thinking of the naming, like, the child is going to be named Gordon, and whatever that...
Gordon,
That's
yeah.
it.
Gordon could be
That's right, whatever that child wants to...
gender neutral.
This song is about
Yeah.
shedding gender roles, yes.
Yeah, and no, I mean, I think we're being quasi-facetious, but I think there is a little something to that, and that's kind of what's interesting about BNL is that I've often said that you can make a political point with a joke, or punctuate an important thing with humor. You can draw people's attention, and you can get people to laugh and then think. And I think that's a really good way, because otherwise, if you're just trying to smash them over the head with ideology, or just trying to come at something from a very kind of a forceful perspective. If you make someone laugh, you have their attention, and you might have their reflection.
Yeah. And we're also, there's a great breadth of political force behind the song, too, because not only is it very progressive in terms of its gender roles and parental roles and subversive in that, but it's also extremely capitalist, because he's immediately attempting to sell this and asking how much would it be worth if he was to have a baby and could make money off of his story.
P.T. Barnum has a spot for him, definitely.
Yeah. The bearded Steve.
Wearing his hair shirt.
Can we jump to the bridges?
Well, yeah, you want to break it down?
Better than jumping off him.
Well, before we do that,
Jumping off the
even
bridges.
getting to just the background harmonies and singing in the second verse, I love the Beach Boys-esque type reactions that they're doing in the background with the Greek chorus of he says, now here comes the big morality quiz, and the guys go, big morality quiz.
Yeah.
Cause I don't know just who the father is.
Who's the daddy?
And then, so you get these Beach Boy harmonies in the background that they kind of bring in again, and I'll put their version in instead of my horrible singing there. But I just love they're having a lot of fun with this, even in these different change-ups.
Yeah.
The one thing that this song didn't do that they tend to do is the bridge is usually they're like, okay, now we're going to take this in a different direction and explore it in a different way. And that's not what this bridge is. This bridge just kind of continues the same thing that they've been doing throughout the whole song.
Yeah, because they do that immediately with the first chorus. They sucker punch you right there, and then from then on, it's just kind of how far off the cliff can we drive?
Right.
I think that prevents them from getting too deep. I think it's appropriate for us as critics to use the power of exegesis to apply this song to a serious topic like gender roles in a way that it was never designed to do. But
of course,
even within the song, he's like, okay, let's get deep for a second. If I was to have a baby, what are the mechanics of this? Who would be the father? And then immediately he's like, no, I don't care. This is a stupid song.
Yeah.
Right? I don't mind. All I want is my baby.
It's very...
He stops himself before he actually gets into anything meatier about
very self-aware.
This bizarre impregnation.
And I wonder when they were writing it, if they started to go that direction, they're like, no, we can't do that. Let's just we got to do something more fun with this.
Yeah.
Very possible.
And then the other thing I want to bring up before we get to the music piece of it is I love how they finish this song with that round.
Mm.
Like, let's have these. So you have Ed saying Stephen Page is having a baby, which is the chorus. Then you have Stephen coming in the background saying that boys can never give. And then you have Andy and Jim singing even slower. And I don't know if it's in a discordant harmony, Aaron. You're going to have to tell me. Yeah, they say that boys don't give birth, but very slowly and harmoniously. And then they all, in that last line, come together.
Stephen Page is having a baby. Stephen Page is having a baby. Stephen Page is having a baby.
It's an intense end. For such a light song, it's a really intense, bittersweet end to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is, of all their songs, this is the one that I've always wished I could see them perform live to see how they're interpreting this. Because you really kind of picture the rest of the band in like candy striper outfits and straw hats, like dancing behind Steve the whole time.
I would love that. That would be amazing.
And it goes back to, again, not to compare the Mona Lisa that was under pressure to this bazooka joint. But it is the
There's legitimate comparisons.
But it is the idea that like they really were similarly to how a lot of the tonal sides of Freddie Mercury going up and down the scales in the background while David Bowie's just being David Bowie in the middle of the song, because that's what he does. And then all these wonderful things that musically is happening in that song. The boys are going all out in this. This isn't just like, not to compare it to some of their other like little songs that they just played for fun. They're putting some work in here. Like everything is coming together. Like again, and this is why I think if it was going to fit on any album, it definitely would fit on Gordon. Because Gordon had a lot of those, as much as Gordon had a lot of playful songs, it also had some really weird songs like Crazy Like You, Crazy. And The Flag and stuff like that, songs that were deeper and a bit heavier to try and put together. And this is one of their goofball songs that has for lack of a better word, that has layers. Like it has just all these other things going on.
Oh yeah.
While at the same time completely framed around a ridiculous premise.
And a lot of that depth is coming from the musical choices, you know, like the way it ends and the way that morality quiz bridge goes indicates that there's something deeper going on, even though the lyrics are absurd. And if I could compare it to another masterpiece, the Mona Lisa, here we have a song, you know, the Mona Lisa is often said to have been a self-portrait of Leonardo da Vinci, transgendering himself into a female, and that's often what's thought to be behind her smile. So in a sense, the Mona Lisa is kind of a deeper self-portrait that's being hidden behind a smirk. And so really, I think that it would be very difficult to argue that this song is not the musical equivalent of the Mona Lisa. Think about it. That's right.
And I feel bad that it was never polished up. It was never put onto anything officially, like in a studio type version.
That's my biggest disappointment, is that there's especially the one that you sent. I'd only heard the one that was at the live show in like '91. I want to say until you sent me that one, Tracy, where it was the B-side to Christmas Time. Oh yeah. That was a better recording, but I still would have loved to, especially with all the harmonies and everything, have heard like an immaculately mixed studio version of this tune. I would, that's like if we ever get the impossible and Steve reunites with the band, I would love to have them do that.
In a similar way, I think if they did polish it up, like a lot of things, it's like when they remake a film that was fine. Okay, this is going to be a weird tangent. There was The Evil Dead, and then there's Evil Dead 2, all right? Evil Dead was fine. Evil Dead was a project of the heart. It was a college project. It was a lot of fun. It was it was gritty. It was messy. It was done on a budget of like $10 in an afternoon, that sort of a thing. It wasn't, but you know what I mean. That film, however, was done as a pet project. Then they made the second one. It is totally different, though exactly the same. And polished, don't get me wrong, and proper, and it is a film, and they did all those wonderful things. It loses all the nuance. It loses all the fun, all of the I personally think. Don't get me wrong, Evil Dead 2 is great.
Wait a second. Are you saying Evil Dead 2 is a less fun film?
I think, yeah, I think Evil Dead 2 is the superior film between the two.
What I'm saying is that it is a superior film, but it would lose. What's the word I'm looking for? The homemadeness of it. I mean, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Well, this is
You know what I'm saying. I hope everybody's picking up what I'm laying down.
this is an interesting example to run with, because that whole series was really weird, where you had like the first one was horror with weird bits of comedy, and the second one the pendulum swung over a little bit more to horror, and then of course with Army of Darkness it went all the way over to comedy completely. Right. So it's a really interesting series in general to kind of talk about.
Yeah, and I think what I'm trying to say here is that this might have been their pet song, like the song that they love to go back to, revisit, and enjoy singing and enjoy doing because of its uniqueness and its theme and everything else. But to put it into the polish of a studio recording, I think would remove some of that specialness, for lack of a better word.
I think I get what you're saying. Like, there's something about this song has the bizarre tone it does, because I don't think they cared too much.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way. It was
yeah, obviously.
Here's a bit we did, and they just tossed it off. And because there was no pressure of trying to make the song, they were able to create this really bizarre tapestry of like depth of music and lightness of tone and complex theme and just kind of throw it off like, whatever, man. Stephen Page is having, even the title is ridiculous.
Layers
yeah. I will disagree only because I really, really want to hear, like, I'm an audio snob, so I really would love to hear this in like really great clarity. And my final argument I submit to the court: imagine you're listening to an album and this is a secret song after like a minute or two of silence after the last track. I think that would be wonderful.
But that would have been an amazing way to finish Gordon, like having their little bits, and then instead of coming back with that fodder, coming back with this, would have been amazing.
Can we also talk about the fact that there are two songs about Gordon that aren't on Gordon? There's the Ballad of Gordon, and there's this song that directly reference Gordon Page, the baby that's about to be born, and neither are on Gordon.
Yeah. I know that Steven, when I asked him like why Ballad of Gordon wasn't on Gordon, he said that it was a political type thing. That it was considered, but there were some decisions that were made on which songs would stay and which songs would go, and that was one that was just decided that would have to go.
Right.
Justin, I just noticed that you're wearing the cheat hoodie. That is amazing.
No, he changed while you were gone. He wasn't wearing that before.
Oh, well, I think the camera was higher up and I couldn't quite make it out. So that's fantastic. Big Homestar Runner fan here.
It all came out around the same time. It's all good.
Can we? I think we're cluing up.
The other thing that I wanted to bring up about the song, though, doing it live versus doing it in a studio. One of the things I like that they do in the studio, that I love this live version, but I would love to see them do a studio version of this, is they like to add in all this kind of stuff in the background that flushes it out a little bit more musically. And this is very simple musically in terms of like the instruments that are in it. I could see them really kind of, especially Andy, really like throwing stuff in there to really make it even full.
Yeah, I'd like to hear a Baroque version with like a glockenspiel
and just
everything else, you know.
A nice Gregorian choir singing this.
Yeah.
Brother Eustace is having a baby.
Baby.
Did you hear that, Andy? We want you to make this version.
In a similar way, I mean, I can't say much with this whole comparison of live to studio album anyway, because some of my favorite songs are done live. Every time I hear Hello City live, I'm happy. Like, I'll just use that as my favorite example.
Yeah.
I don't think it sounds better necessarily than the studio version from the original, but every time I hear it live, I'm happy. I don't know how else to word it.
There's something energy-wise that's different.
There's a sincerity that comes with it. It's their storytelling at its best.
Speaking of music, why don't we get over to the music and discuss that for a couple minutes? I'm going to let Aaron break it down, then we can go into that.
All right, let's break it down.
Break down. Aaron's gonna talk about chord structure and time.
So having a baby, I guess it really depends on which recording you're listening to. There's no definitive recording necessarily. So the one that I was mostly focused on was recorded at approximately 157 beats per minute. The tempo changes a little bit throughout. It's in the key of A major for the verse, which we'll get into in a moment. So you have A, which is the tonic, to C sharp minor, which is the minor third, up to F sharp minor, which is the sixth. And then you have kind of a passing tone across the seventh degree, which would be G sharp diminished, but mostly it's just like 1, 3, 6. The chorus is quite interesting because it switches to D minor. It lands on the D minor chord from the F sharp minor. Now the D minor chord is diatonic to A major, but we're no longer in A major because the D minor chord then moves to a C major, which is the subtonic flat seventh of the D minor scale. It is not something you would normally run into, or at all, really, in A major. So it definitely, this little jaunty, little happy little tune just kind of bouncing around. Then all of a sudden you have Stephen Page is having a baby, and it is minor all of a sudden. So it was very well orchestrated to kind of have the musical change be occurring at the same time where the lyrics were kind of letting you in on what was going on. The chorus pretty much goes back and forth between D minor to C major until the end of the chorus. The turnaround chord here is E diminished, as the second degree of a natural minor scale is diminished. And this is perfect because the E can resolve quite nicely back to the A because it'd be a perfect fourth, or the E would be the fifth of A. So it makes for a very nice transition back into the major, much happier sounding verse. The bridge is actually in A major as well, with a much more common chord progression of 2-5-1. So you have B minor to E major, or dominant, if you will, back to the tonic A major or 1. The structure of the song is intro, verse 1, which is your A, chorus B, verse 2 A, chorus B. I'm going to call it mouth jazz solo, which is both, it goes over both the A and B changes. Then you get your bridge, which is your C, which is your 2-5-1. And then you go back to verse 3 for A, chorus B, and then the outro is just kind of vamping on the B changes over and over again before it just kind of becomes this a cappella choral kind of like round that's occurring. So I would guess it would be A, B, A, B, A, B, C, A, B, B, period, or ellipsis, or whatever you want to call it. I guess that would be the more or less the overall structure of the song. Very interesting song.
I swear to
me,
God,
this
you
is
just said
classic.
C-A baby. I'm sorry, what?
C-A baby. Ooh, interesting.
Sorry.
Maybe that's maybe there C-A-B-B, see a baby. Maybe there's the thing is, I would not put it past them because they have definitely done things like that before, where they have done things with the form of the song being palindromic, or like they've done very playful things with the chord choices and things. They're definitely music nerds, so that would not at all surprise me if that was intentional.
As opposed to dorks like me.
To me, this is
just notice stuff like that.
Hey, excuse me, I'm a nerd, not a dork. Yes.
What happened with?
But this to me,
what happened with that last note for birth? Like the last note in the chorus, it seems to go it's discordant. It's kind of interesting because it's beautiful, but at the same time, like this different chord.
I didn't take a note for it off the top of my head. It's probably from a diminished chord, which makes it's probably like a flat fifth or something, which can sound quite discordant. It's not. I wouldn't call it dissonant necessarily. Maybe I guess some people would naturally call that a dissonant interval, but it's still diatonic to the key that the song's in at the time. So it's still part of the scale. But if you ever heard of people they play the blues, they'll be like, oh, that's a blue note or something like that. Like that's one that's like one of those really you kind of lay on it and it sounds a little like out there or a little extreme. They got a little jazzy with it, definitely. The jazz notes. That's what we used to joke. I went to school for jazz and at UMA when someone was playing a solo and they would have this like squeaky note or like kind of go outside the key accidentally. They'd be like, "Oh, I did that on purpose. That's a jazz note." But But sometimes, really good composers do. You step out, you break the rules, you learn the rules so you can break them. But yeah, to me, this is classic old school BNL as I know them, which I know is not as well as you guys. But the song form and the subtle peculiarity of the music at times, the playfulness, absurdist humor, just the sense of the band having fun. I have to admit, I cracked a smile several times while listening to this song. Obviously, I'm Mr. Brooding, and I love serious, dark, introspective music. But you know what? I am also capable of enjoying a fun, silly song, and I did like it. I liked it quite a bit.
Did you catch the Andy's tinkling of the ivories jazzily in the background during that bridge?
Yes.
I love what Andy's doing there.
Yeah, the whole thing, I guess that's another reason why I'm just disappointed that there's not a better recording out there. Even if it wasn't necessarily a studio recording, but just like if they had closer mics and more mics and they had time to mix and master it and stuff like that in more of a clear way, get some more clarity to it. Like I would have loved to have really kind of been able to enjoy the little peculiarities like that a little more and just have them pop a little more.
See, this is why I'm glad you guys started this podcast instead of me and Justin, because I would never have been able to have provided that level of insight into this.
Yep.
So
that's why I'm glad when Aaron's joining us.
That's the reason I'm very glad that I have a fiance. Found someone who can listen to me say that stuff and still be like, yeah, okay, fine, let's go see a movie. Whatever.
You're being geeky again. I love it, but you're being geeky again.
Yeah, pretty much. Most people, their eyes glaze over and they're just like, okay, sure. I love it. It's very interesting to me, like especially with a band like BNL, and that's something that. Before Tracy asked me to do this, I was aware mostly of their really, really popular hits, like One Week and things like that. And to be fair, there's some good stuff there. There's some good, yeah, Justice making a face for
now. Justin, no gatekeeping.
There's some good material there. But it wasn't. Tracy showed me Brian Wilson, and that really kind of changed.
Brian
my
Wilson
view of the
has
band.
that effect on a lot of people.
And yeah. And then when Alcohol and Conventioneers and all these other great ones. So like we're still only at H, so we're not even halfway through yet. And I definitely am looking forward to the other gems I'm going to discover. So yeah, I had no idea that they were such kind of music nerds as well, and like to like do kind of. They were they're very playful and they're very experimental at times, and it's appreciated. And it's given me an appreciation for their talent and for their eclectic kind of range. Hey, I have dual citizenship. I'm Canadian citizen too.
So I'm outnumbered, is what you're saying.
I'm with you.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, hoser.
Now, one of the things that's really cool about this song is that usually the lyrics or the music is far beyond the other. The other one kind of supports, but one of like the lyrics are much better and the music supports it, or the music is there and the lyrics kind of will fill in and support. And then once in a while, there's definitely a much bigger winner and the other one's not doing so well. But that's really rare. This is one of those songs I think that the music and the lyrics are right there together.
Yeah.
Like we have all this great musical, interesting stuff going on, and then we have like the lyrics, which are really interesting, and they just combine for this amazing song.
Yeah, I mean, on the other side of the spectrum, you have something like The Flag. I would say the same thing about, but obviously it's a very different song.
Right.
But yeah, no, it's programmatic. Like I said, I think that the music is very fitting for the subject material and the lyrics, and they go together really well. The feeling is conveyed through. You could listen. I'll put it this way: if I heard the song without the lyrics and just heard the changes between this kind of hoppy, little fun, upbeat major verse, and then we go into that kind of weird, kind of questioning, kind of mysterious chorus in minor, and then back and forth. Then you got this kind of silly little mouth jazz solo or whatever, mouth kazoo, and then you got the bridge. And I would be at a loss. I'd be like, "What?" But then, as soon as you hear the lyrics, it all makes sense, right? It all just clicks. You're like, "This is perfect." Like they really do go hand in hand. I agree.
To frame it in I guess, a current reference. If for those who have ever heard or seen the film Frozen 2 right now, it's the Olaf song. If you don't know what's going on, you don't know what the heck is happening, but he's being tantalized by things in this mystical forest. But as he's singing a jaunty little song about things going well when he gets older, but every now and again there's like a shriek of something that sounds like it's out of Psycho. And the only reason you would know what's going on is if you could visually see it. So in a very similar way, I agree 100%. And I got to stick Olaf in this podcast, so you're welcome. My kids will like that.
Nice.
Now, I have an interesting little tidbit to add into this song, a little interesting fact. This song, it doesn't tell us how many times it was played, but Setlist FM basically told us the first time this song was ever played was September 10th in 1991. And then the last time, according to them, that this was ever played was actually at that recording that we have from 2005 that they did in 1991 at the Danforth Music Hall. So they played it for about 3 months, and then that's it. That's the last time they ever played this song ever again.
That's a crime.
Including that, like,
what a shame.
They had that huge tour where they recorded every single concert along the way, and then they went for each song on that tour. They did one of their old deep hits like Roadrunner and stuff. This wasn't in there. They left it. And it's so weird.
It's such a great song, you guys. I don't know.
Could it be because, and just because it's so, again, I keep using the word layered, but could it be that it was just too hard to play again? And I'm being sincere when I say that. I mean, the guys are talented, but trying to remember, as we were just discussing now a few seconds ago, just how complexly messy this song is, for lack of a better word, how it just goes all over the place. Maybe, I mean, it's a lot easier to fly into some of the old tunes, but this guy might have been just complex enough that they just kind of said, yeah, we'd like to pull out one of our old ones, but you know what? No, not this one. I don't know.
Yeah, when my band was gigging regularly in Portland, Maine, and the surrounding area, we had a song we played, which it was so, like, you know, we all went to jazz school, so, you know, we were young, impressionable, you know, jazz students who were playing in a kind of a hard rock band, and so we wrote this very pretentious song that was changing time signatures all the time, and, you know, we thought we were Rush or something, or Tool, and you know, there was I distinctly remember one gig where it was a train wreck. We totally lost the plot because we were doing all these changes and stuff, and, you know, we were really good and we were trained, but like we were like, basically we had a point where it was every measure was changing the time signature for like in the bridge or whatever, and we totally lost it. We were all everywhere. We were all scattered to the winds, and then, you know, we just kind of looked at each other. We were like lined it up, and we all got back on. When we ended the song, the audience erupted into cheers. Nobody had any idea that we even messed anything up because it was just so you know, it was so complex and bizarre anyway. So after that, we're like, yeah, we might not want to play that one for a while. Let's. It was like too much effort for not enough for like what we, you know, like, let's just replace that with like, yeah, let's replace that with like a nice 4/4 straight up rock song, shall we? But. No, I mean, yeah, it's very possible that they're just like, yeah, let's shelve it, and then, you know, unfortunately, never got kind of more exposure. But it is something that I think deserves to be heard. It's definitely an oddity, and definitely a kind of a little unpolished gem.
And then on the flip side of that, there's also the fact that live in concert, especially around the stunt era, they were getting into a lot of live improv. They were loving that, like preaching to the choir. And Maroon, actually, it was Maroon time when they were doing it, when they were here visiting us, because obviously we had them in our house. But, you know, just, it could also be the idea on top of that, maybe it would have been a touchy subject Just throwing it out there, like the idea that
Maybe?
somebody might have been a bit, they would have heard this and they're like, wait, I know it's a jokey song, but not to use the common parlance of triggered, but maybe it would have upset some people if they had heard this song. And I'm not
Right.
being facetious in this respect now. I'm actually
Yeah.
thinking
No,
maybe they
legitimately.
looked at the goofy
Right.
song, they were
Yeah.
like, this is a great song, it's hard to play, and somebody might get pissed. Let's not do it.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah.
potential for
Maybe.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think you might have hit on something with the improv there too, Justin, because like this song almost sounds like it was an improv song.
Yeah.
And maybe they kind of riffed it and they're like, oh, that's funny, let's keep going. But they can re-improv something as funny whenever they want, really. And it's got the fun of being like kind of in the moment and improv-y. So why go to a rehearsed song when you could have something a little more vital and in the moment? I don't know.
Yeah.
You mean like if I had $1 million?
Well, if I had $1 million is a stable song, but it's not exactly like an improvised joke, right? It's not a Whose Line Is It Anyway
Right.
sketch, whereas this kind of is. So I wonder if they
Right.
were just like that part of our act is already being fulfilled by, give us a letter and an animal and a country in Africa.
Two guys with
do a scheme.
Two guys with beards
Right.
in the audience.
Well, I don't have much more to say about this. You guys have any things that we haven't covered?
I do. Did you know Gordon Page would be 29 now?
Oh, I did not know that.
Gordon Page is completing their masters, so I think that these are
I'd like to,
boy, do I feel old.
I'd like to think Gordon
somewhere.
Page is
Go ahead.
finishing his
Sorry?
masters instead of or
Or
her
hers.
masters.
That's why-
instead of going out
Indefinite pronouns.
instead of going out on the road and trying to copy their dad and mom.
Well, what I will say is, potentially there are infinite universes where anything that can happen does happen. So it brings my heart joy to know that somewhere there is a universe where Gordon Page is right now getting engaged to Frances Bean Cobain.
Wow.
And on that note,
I know she's 27, by the way, to make you feel old.
Wow.
so
There's
Yeah,
there's a
yeah.
lot going on in that
I feel like
sentence, man.
Benjamin Button right now. Yeah.
mind's blown.
Did BNL ever play Nirvana
The
or
music.
Hole? They must have covered it at some point.
No.
Ooh.
Jokes aside,
I would
honest
love
to
to
God,
hear that.
hand to chest.
Yeah.
I think they've been in the same festivals before, way back when. I swear there was a festival somewhere where I think Nirvana and BNL played the same time. Don't quote me, don't at me, or whatever people say now, because I'm feeling old.
Yeah.
But no,
They were-
if some
Bare Naked
Unless
Ladies,
you can prove it.
they were playing on the other side of the muddy banks
Yeah.
of the Wishka.
yeah,
That's
the guys are over there. It's kind of like, oh,
It
yeah,
could be.
but no,
Hey, Nirvana, you're on the wrong side of the river.
but we have all the horses. I'm going to Google this while we continue talking.
Well, I'm going to bring us to ratings.
Go for
So, of course, we don't know who the father is or if he's going to be the daddy. So, this week's rating is how many
Yeah.
fathers are we giving this song?
Oh,
Let's see. Aaron, I'm going to go to you first. How many fathers do you give this song?
Well, we might as well get me out of the way, since based on our guest's enthusiastic praise of the song, I have a feeling that even though I think this is a pretty high score, I'm going to be the quote-unquote hater in this episode. So I gave, it's very difficult because, as I said, as an audio snob, as someone who went to school for audio engineering and who mixes and masters audio did for a living for a while and does it as a side hustle now. I'm very critical of audio quality, and I like for my recordings to be high quality. So I'm wondering if that has flavored this in a little bit. But having said that, I really enjoyed the song. Obviously, it made me smile. I had fun listening to it. I appreciated some of the interesting oddities in the songwriting. And I was thinking, should I give it a 4? It seems like it's in that kind of range. It's definitely good. I wouldn't put it up there with their best work, but I think it's pretty up there, And then I looked at what I gave 4s to, and I gave Gangsta Girl a 4. Now the thing is, this could be 10 months from now. Tracy and I could be talking on New Year's, and I could be giving higher scores to both of these songs, but I can't quite put it on the same level as Gangster Girl. I gave Celebrity a 3.9. I like this just a little bit better. I'm gonna give Having a Baby 3.95 fathers. And again, if we were ever to get our hands on a high quality studio recording of this, I'm not sure if that would sway my cold black heart or not. But I did enjoy it quite a bit, and I do think it's a very
Three dads, one with a circumcision.
You're giving 23andMe a run for its money there, buddy.
I'm gonna have to start getting into the thousands places after a while if I got to do this incrementally. We got a lot of material to
we
cover.
got a lot of songs still left to go. We're not even halfway there yet, bud. All right, which of you two would like to go next?
You want to go?
Yeah, all right.
No, let's take it outside.
Come on. No, I'll go next. I think I'm trying not to let nostalgia or even just high school taint my vision of this too much, but I do have a really soft spot for this tune just because of the fact of, correlation with me and Andrew, but at the same time, it's just an adorable song. I mean, I get a similar vibe from this song. Similar. I want that to be very clear to how I feel about some of the other live stuff that I've heard before. When you hear the live album, it's one of my favorite albums out there because it is both greatest hits and live. So what's not to like? So throwing this in there with those, it gives me a real affinity for it. I think more than it deserves is a nice way to put it. I'm going to give it a 3 3/4 dads. 3.75 maybe, and you know what, no, I'll be kind, 3.8. And the reason is because I'm not doing this 0.5, that extra 0.5 stuff there, buddy.
3/4.
Yeah.
Well, he's got a lot more songs to rate. So.
But no, I'll give it 3.8 only because of the fact that it's one that I think I like more because of nostalgia and all that other unironic stuff we talked about, I suppose. But it's definitely one that I think is just one of those songs you hear that you like whenever you hear something by The Cure, you just sing along because, I know this song. And you love it. And you're just driving around and you just love it. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to give it a 3.8 dads.
3.8 dads.
Isn't that the new sitcom with Charlie Sheen?
Okay, I'm going to, I'm going to completely allow myself to be tainted by nostalgia in high school and all that stuff. But when I think about ranking all of these songs, like I think without hesitation, I would just say, well, Brian Wilson is a 5, and then everything else or whatever. But the question that makes me ask is, does a genre of music or of theater or of TV or movies automatically trump something? Like if something has a sad ending like Empire Strikes Back, is that what makes it better? Is because a song like Brian Wilson is not a upbeat song, is that why I say that it's better? Or is it because there's something about that song that's inherently good? I think that song is inherently good. But so I'm not going to allow the fact that this song is silly. Can a silly song be a great song? I think so. And so I'm going to give this song a 4.8.
Whoa!
This song is way up there for me.
Wow.
On the Bare Naked Ladies canon. So there. Stephen Page had a baby, and I ate that baby. I swallowed it whole.
You put it in your belly.
It was great.
Are you a dingo?
I am a dingo.
Cuckoo.
All right.
I am the dingo. Nice. So Tracy, how about you, sir?
Well, I thought I was going to have the highest score, but
No.
definitely you beat me out there, Andrew. All right, I've been wrestling with this one this week. I have been wondering whether or not I should put it up there with Brian Wilson and some of the others like Alcohol. It's been hard for me. There's no nostalgia here for me. This I picked up just 2 years ago, just as we started the podcast. And I've been waiting on this one, like, oh, I can't wait to get to this one. This is gonna be so much fun because I just found this. It's catchy. It's definitely bouncy with a kick, pun intended. It's funny, irreverent, amazing harmonies. I love the shouting out, which is early BNL, like in the middle of the song. But this time, the shouting out makes a lot more sense than what we have in King of Bedside Manor. Like this one, it really fits in. Oh. We got the jazzy bridge. We got the round ending. I love rounds, especially like when BNL does them and does them really well. It's a perfect ending to the song. I have to give this a 4.75. It's not quite Brian Wilson, but man, it's up there.
Yes.
Wow.
And so with all the numbers counted in together, that brings it to a 4.33.
Battle lines are drawn here.
I feel like a total douche.
Champagnerade over here. No, I love the song. I can't compare it to Alcohol and Brian Wilson. But I get it. I get it. It's a very good song. It's a charming song, and I think it has a lot of merit. So yeah, that's great.
And without rearranging our whole spreadsheet at this point, I would have to say that puts it somewhere comparison-wise. I would say that it definitely puts it in the top 25 based on that number.
It deserves it.
Yeah, it really came out of nowhere and surprised me when I saw it, and I really felt like it was a loss that was never on a formal album.
And it's a loss that everybody isn't listening to it all the time right now.
Well, now that everyone has COVID-19 and they're stuck in their house without any toilet paper and all they can do is listen to us, maybe they will listen to it now.
It's on YouTube, folks. Go find it right now.
Oh, yeah. And you can go out for a lot of money and buy the Danforth Music Hall version and buy that CD. They're actually, it's a very rare
Did you buy a lot of toilet paper? Do you have disposable income?
You make a hell of a pitch, Tracy.
Speaking of a hell of a pitch, and a loss, we finally got something that we've been waiting years for. And I want to talk about it in this week's appearance. I've been holding off to make this announcement because in the liner notes for the Danforth Hall CD that I finally picked up and got, it says that the tradition of throwing craft dinner actually started at that concert.
Oh.
So, connecting it to having a baby, we have this week's appearance, which is the brand new craft dinner commercial with Stephen Page in it. And I would love for us to discuss this commercial.
Okay.
What are people's thoughts on this? Like, it's a 30-second commercial, but really what we're looking at is 15 seconds of Stephen Page really kind of selling craft dinner with all these wonderful puns of him wearing the fake fur coat, him sitting on a Chesterfield, no ottoman. What is wrong with you, craft dinner? You got that wrong. And then, of course, them giving away the Dijon ketchup.
It's cool. I love the ad and stuff like that, but I've got to say, I've really tried hard to embrace the post Steve Fantastic Four era of the BNL, and I still love all those guys as well. And so there's something about this ad that's just kind of sad to me because it should be Steve and Ed in there, man, not just Steve. That's weird. And so, he, all love to him doing it. He is as much a part of the song and deserves to be able to do this, but a post BNL Steve in a craft dinner $1 million kind of commercial, it just kind of feels sad to me.
Yeah.
I can see that. I mean, it would have been perfect to have the band or at least Steve and Ed in there doing it.
Yeah, especially if this was 15 years ago or something like that. And even now, if the whole band was in it, but I don't know. That's how I feel, but it's still objectively, it's just a cool ad on its own. But
I agree
the subtext makes it
100%
sad
with
for me.
the fact this happened is hilarious. Like the whole, like, of course this had to happen at some point. And now we are reaching, once again, another example of who is the audience, who are the people, because I can guarantee you, my kids saw this commercial on both YouTube and television. As a matter of fact, they saw the extended version on television where it's like 4 different people making KD in stupid ways, like somebody making it in a coffee pot and stuff. And one of them asked out of nowhere and just said, "Dad, who's the guy in the fur coat?" And I sighed and I looked at my poor son and I said, "Boy." And I told him about the bare naked ladies. He was like, "Oh yeah," and my children know who they are. But at the same time, I explained and I reminded him of the song "If I Had $1,000,000." He was like, "Oh yeah," and so he was fine with that. Then he understood it entirely, and that made me sadder again right when that happened. Because as much as I sat there, just like the rest of you, and picked out every little nuance, and the fact that they did it so well, that's what I liked. I mean, yes, there was the fake fur coat, there was the Chesterfield, there was the Dijon ketchup. All the little things were there. The only thing was missing, as Andrew pointed out perfectly, was just, where are the guys? This feels the very first word, and I feel like such a troll for saying this. The very first word that rattled to the front of my head was sellout, and I hate that because that's not what I don't think that's what this is. But I can't help but feel that way because of what it is.
Right.
But there's a layer of it. You're right, and there's a layer of it where it's not just like, oh, where's the guys? It's also like Steve has tried really hard to have a post Bare Naked Ladies career. He's got his own songs. Yeah. He's made all kinds of albums that are going in very different directions from Bare Naked Ladies, and then he's just getting sucked right back in with the craft dinner thing, which is his thing to claim. But it's bittersweet.
But again, of all the things to do that with, and something that I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and don't quote me on this either, but if I recall, this wasn't exactly one of his favorite songs. Because they played it too often or something.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they had to play it every single concert.
I'm gonna need my Canadian friends to get me a bottle of that Dijon ketchup.
Yeah, good friggin' luck.
Yeah, there's only 15.
If I get my hands on that, I'm gonna drink it.
They only make 15 bottles, Aaron. I don't think anyone's going to be eating it if they get it.
So you're saying they all belong to Justin Bieber?
Probably, yeah.
What a sad thought.
Now, just to clarify, that is not our prime minister. I just want to make sure.
That's the difference, Justin.
Yeah, please.
Stop making that mistake.
Justin Bieber.
And I'm not the prime minister either. Okay.
If it makes people feel a little bit better, this commercial came about because the people at Kraft actually heard the shout out that happened at the Junos in 2018.
Oh.
So when Steven at the Junos during the award ceremony said, "Come on, 30 years now, Kraft, isn't it time for a sponsorship?" The head of Canada's brand building said, "Yeah, actually, you got a really good point," and went through to try to make it happen. Why it didn't happen with Ed and Steve, who knows? Based on some other situations that have kind of come up in the recent, there was recently on Reply All podcast, they had a interaction about Bare Naked Ladies, and they reached out, I think, probably to both sides. And Steven was like, "I love this podcast. I'll be on it in a minute, and I'll talk with you guys about this situation, about this song that sounds very BNL-esque." The other guys never probably responded because they talked to just Steven. I want to say that I'm guessing Kraft probably reached out to both sides. Steven's probably the one that said yes.
I mean, they wrote a whole song about how bitter they were about this, so maybe there's still some bad blood there. But that'd be too bad.
And the reason I say that is it's a 16, they have Steven's 16 seconds. It's hard for me to think that they left that opening for the other 14 seconds. My guess is that there was a different commercial that had been written that they had to rewrite those other 14 seconds for something.
But if that's for lack of a better, the origin story of this, then I'm delighted if that's the case.
Yeah. And I will be putting the full spot as well as the mini spot on in the article that they talked about how this came to be on our website in the liner notes for this week. So,
and I will give props to the commercial as well for being like almost a Cribs, MTV Cribs kind of a thing going on, like where just all of the ridiculousness about being a superstar is happening, and that's like even when he opens the jacket, the fake fur coat to have the Dijon kind of like and looking around like it's a big deal. I was just kind of like, yeah, this is pretty funny. but
I hear what you're saying, Andrew, too, that like seeing this, it makes you feel the missing spot. It's almost like you're saying that it makes you want Ed again. It's like it makes you want him again.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know, this is kind of a two of them thing,
Yeah.
so it's weird.
And speaking of which, next week that's the song we'll be talking about is He Makes Me Want Her Again.
Nice.
Oh.
Nice segue.
Smooth like butter there.
Well, thank you guys very much. It's actually been great to have you guys on again. It's always a pleasure. You guys are hilarious.
Thanks. It's always great to be here.
Just don't be here. Like right now, you don't want to be here.
Happy to be here. On my couch.
Good talking to you guys.
All right, have a good week.
Thanks, that was fun. Don't forget, no regrets, except maybe one.
Bye.
Oh, before
See
we
you
do
next
that,
time.
I'm going to cut real quick. I'm going to cut back in. Hey, guys, is there anything that you would like to plug? Any places that you would like people to go and hear more about you?
Good call.
No.
Oh.
Go away, you hosers.
Statler and Waldorf.com.
We have nothing new going on. You can
.com.
find me. I'm a reporter for CBC. You can find me at our national broadcaster.
And I am hiding under a bridge.
I'll be back under the bridge a little later, Justin. Can you start the microwave for me before I get home?
The troll toll.
Yeah.
Well, we're hoping you guys
Oh, yeah.
will start up something again new, like soon, because you guys are great. I love listening to all the stuff you do. So
Thank you very much.
Stay tuned.
maybe reviewing some more movies.
Are there more movies?
They exist. They keep releasing them for some reason.
I've heard a few movies.
I just know about Monster Squad. I don't know.
I love that movie so much.
If there's anything we've learned tonight is that we could, since I own them, we could easily do that Arnold
no.
triple DVD I have home.
Ooh.
Oh,
Ooh, interesting idea. Interesting.
Junior
No.
Minute. Movies by Minute Junior.
the Junior Mint It.
Oh.
To celebrate joining Pantheon Podcasts, Rock Camp, the podcast, the official podcast of Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, is giving away a guitar signed by Mike Portnoy of Dream Theater, Marty Friedman, formerly of Megadeth, and legendary shredder Zakk Wylde, plus our rockstar counselors like Vinny Appice, Monty Pittman, and more. To enter to win, simply follow, rate, and review our podcast on your preferred platform, and that's all you have to do. For more information, go to rockcamp.com/podcast.